It's funny how sometimes just like the smallest things can get you thinking, like the other day I was cleaning out some old boxes and I found, I don't know, probably like years old pictures of myself.
Yeah.
Different haircut, different, like everything. And it just really got me thinking, like, how much of that person is really still here?
It's such an interesting question, especially when you consider that our bodies are always, replacing those old cells with new ones. I mean, we're really not made of the same stuff we were a few years ago, are we?
It's mind-blowing, and that's exactly what we're diving into today. We got this email from Micky, Yeah, the one who's always jet-setting and mixing up those amazing cocktails over on their YouTube channel, Mickytolife. Well, Micky hit us up with a question that's got us scratching our heads. They asked, is it true that all our cells are replaced every 7 years? And if so, are we still the same person after that happens?
Oh, Micky is tapping into something that is seriously mind-boggling. It's a mix of hard science and deep philosophy. Our bodies are constantly renewing themselves, but it's not as straightforward as just one big swap every 7 years.
So no total body makeover every 7 years. Oh, man. I was kind of hoping for a clean slate.
Not quite. Different cells regenerate at different paces. Think about your skin. It's shedding and renewing itself every few weeks. Same with the lining of your gut. Those cells are working overtime, replacing themselves every couple of days.
Okay, that's both amazing and kind of gross, like a built-in self-cleaning system for your insides. But what about other parts of the body? Like, what about our organs?
Well, red blood cells have a lifespan of roughly 120 days. So every 4 months, you've got a fresh batch circulating. But then you've got your heart. Now, the cells are much slower to regenerate, maybe about 1% each year.
So my heart is basically a vintage model. Huh. Explains why it skips a beat every time I see a good sale.
Huh. But here's the real shocker. Most of the neurons in your brain, the cells that really make you you, they don't regenerate much at all.
Wait, seriously? So the brain cells I'm using right now to record this deep dive are the same ones I had as a kid? That's kind of awesome, but also a little freaky.
It's pretty wild to think about, right? Except for a few specific areas related to memory and smell, those brain cells are with you for the long haul. From your first steps to recording this podcast, they've been there through it all.
So does that mean even if our bodies are changing, we essentially stay the same person? Because our brains are relatively constant.
That's where we bump into the famous ship of Theseus thought experiment. Imagine a ship that slowly has every single part replaced, plank by plank, sail by sail, until eventually every piece is brand new. Is it still the same ship?
Okay, I see where you're going with this. It's like that saying, you can't step in the same river twice. But instead of a river, we're talking about ourselves. Tricky.
Exactly. This thought experiment really makes us think about what defines identity. Is it the physical stuff, the cells and materials? Or is it something less tangible, like our memories, experiences, and consciousness that we carry within our ever-changing bodies?
So are we like that constantly renovated ship, still the same, even though every part has changed? Or are we more like, I don't know, a banana smoothie? You blend it up and it's a whole new thing.
That is a surprisingly good analogy. It really highlights the two main camps in this debate. On one side, you've got the folks arguing for continuity. They say, hey, even though our cells are changing our consciousness, our memories, our experiences, those create a continuous thread that makes us us.
Okay, so team continuity is all about the inner you staying consistent, even if the outer you is constantly changing. Kind of like how I'm still obsessed with that 80s synth pop band, even though they've had like a dozen different drummers over the years.
Exactly. It's about that ongoing sense of self, regardless of the physical changes. It's like recognizing a friend you haven't seen in years. They might look different, but their laugh, their mannerisms, their essence is still the same.
Okay, I can get behind that. But what about the other side? Team new cells, new you. What's their argument?
Well, they point out that if every single cell in your body is replaced, you're basically a new physical being, even if your memories are intact. It's like if you restore a vintage car and replace every single part. Is it truly the same car? Some antique collectors would say, no way. The originality of the materials matters.
Okay, I see their point. But doesn't that seem a little extreme? Like, are we really just a collection of cells? Doesn't the mind-body connection count for something?
That's where things get really interesting. Some people even point to organ transplant recipients. They report experiencing personality changes after receiving a new organ. It's as if they've taken on some of the traits of the donor.
Wait, seriously? So, like, if I got a heart transplant, I might suddenly crave spicy food and start running marathons?
Not necessarily, but it does raise some fascinating questions about how our physical bodies can influence our sense of self. It's a complex interplay of nature and nurture, biology and experience.
Okay, my brain is officially doing backflips right now. So we've got team, still the same. Our minds and experiences stay consistent. And team, totally different because, well, new cells, new you.
Exactly. And the truth is there's no easy answer. This is a philosophical debate that's been going on for centuries.
So what does all this mean for Micky's question? Are they still the same person after 7 years, even if many of their cells have been replaced?
Well, if we apply that ship of Theseus analogy to Micky, we might say that even though their physical body has gone through this significant cellular turnover, the continuous thread of their experiences, memories, and personality, that suggests a strong argument for them remaining the same Micky we know and love from Sip and Talk.
Okay, that makes sense. But what if we take it a step further? What if in the future we could transfer our consciousness, all our memories and thoughts, into a new body? Or even a computer? Would that still be you?
Now you're getting into some serious sci-fi territory. But it is a question worth pondering. If your memories and experiences truly define you, then maybe your physical body isn't the be-all and end-all of your identity.
Whoa, mind blown. But let's be real, we're nowhere near being able to do that kind of mind transfer stuff.
True, but technology is advancing rapidly. Who knows what the future holds?
Okay, fine. Future me can worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
But back to Micky's question in the here and now. If I'm mostly new cells after 7 years, does that mean I'm off the hook for any embarrassing stuff I did before that? Like, legally speaking.
Huh. Now that's a question for a lawyer, not a scientist. But it does raise some interesting questions about how our evolving sense of self, how that might impact our understanding of legal responsibility, criminal justice, even personal relationships.
Okay, so this whole self thing isn't just a biology question. It's messing with our understanding of identity, the law, maybe even our place in the universe. Deep stuff.
Absolutely. It challenges us to think about what truly matters in life. Some argue for this idea of continuity. They emphasize that personal identity is really about the continuity of consciousness and memory, not the physical body itself.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, even though my body has changed so much since I was a kid, I still remember my childhood.
This is like the concept of psychological continuity, and philosophers like John Locke, they argued for this.
Okay.
And it suggests that our sense of self persists because of like the ongoing narrative of our thoughts and memories and experiences.
So it's kind of like saying, even though the hardware of my body is always being updated,
Right.
the software of my mind, my memories, my personality, and my values, like that stays mostly consistent.
Is it the physical stuff, the cells that make up our bodies? Or is it the intangible things, the memories, the experiences, the connections we make?
You know, I think that's a question each of us has to answer for ourselves. There's no right or wrong answer.
I agree. And that's the beauty of philosophy. It's all about exploring these big questions, even if we don't always find neat and tidy answers.
Well, I got to say, this deep dive has definitely given me a lot to chew on. Thanks for breaking it down for us.
My pleasure.
My brain feels like it's doing its own cellular turnover right now.
I know, right? It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a key takeaway from all this.
Yeah.
Just realizing that the whole question of who am I is so much more complicated than we think.
Totally. I mean, we tend to think of ourselves as these like stable, unchanging beings.
Right.
But when you really look at it, we're in constant flux.
Absolutely.
Physically and mentally.
And that leads to the question, right? If we're always changing, where is that sense of self? Really?
Yeah, where is it?
Is it in our bodies and our memories?
Right.
Or is it something else entirely?
We've heard such good points on all sides. Like the idea of psychological continuity.
Right.
Says it's our memories and experiences that make up our identity.
Right.
But then there's the materialist view, which says it's all about our physical stuff.
Yeah, and all the advances in technology are adding even more layers to this, right?
That's a great way to put it. We're not just like a bunch of parts put together.
Right.
We're these dynamic beings.
Yeah.
Always in motion, becoming something new all the time.
Exactly. And I think that constant becoming, that's what makes being human so incredible.
Yeah.
So interesting. But there's one last thought I want to leave you with.
Okay, hit me with it. What's this mind-blowing final thought?
What if all this talk about cells and memories is just scratching the surface? What if the truest you isn't in your physical body or your memories? What if it's something deeper?
Deeper than memories. What else is there? This is getting a little too existential for me.
What if it's the connections you make, the relationships you build throughout your life?
Yeah.
What if it's the impact you have on the world, the love you give and receive? Maybe that's what really shapes us, what defines us.
Okay, I think I see what you mean. It's like that saying, People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Exactly. It's about the energy you put out there, the ripple effect of your actions, the legacy you leave behind. Those things can last way longer than any cell or memory.
So even though our bodies and minds are constantly changing, it's the way we touch the lives of others. That's what truly defines who we are.
I think so. Think about the people you admire most. The ones who've really made a difference in the world. It's not just about their accomplishments. It's about the kind of people they were, how they treated others. That's what makes them unforgettable.
Wow, you've totally flipped the script on me. This deep dive thinking it was all about biology. But now I'm realizing it's so much bigger than that. It's about the mark we make on the world, the connections, the love we share.
And that's the beauty of asking these big questions. Consider new possibilities. See the world in a whole new way.
This whole conversation has been one giant mind-expanding journey. We started with a simple question about cells and ended up talking about the meaning of life. Micky, you really got us thinking.
How a seemingly simple question can take us on such a fascinating path.
Well, deep divers, that's a wrap on our exploration of the ship of Theseus and the mysteries of personal identity. A huge thank you to Micky from Mickytolife for inspiring this epic deep dive. And don't forget, you can find them on YouTube for all your travel, drink, and unboxing needs. And as always, we want to hear from you. What do you think? Does the ship of Theseus stay the same? Or are we just a bunch of ever-changing cells? Hit us up on social media. Let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, keep those brain cells firing and keep diving deep.